How hard was it for you to put this group together?
It was scary.
Okay.
It was
all
scary
right, sure.
because, right, as human beings, if we're asking someone out or we're asking for support,
Right.
the worst thing that we could feel from someone we have somewhat of a liking to is rejection. And that was I think that was my biggest fear, was rejection of, even though I like these people and I know they like me, but are they going to show up?
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough. Welcome to another fantastic episode here on Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about how do you go about meeting fresh new prospects outside of the typical mixers that you often go to. We're also going to be talking about how to trust your team with linguistical challenges. And to guide us through all this is Daryl Dean Santos, the owner of Daryl Santos Insurance Agency. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Thanks, Michael. Happy to be here.
For Visioneers who don't know who are you, and what is it that you do?
I'm Daryl Dean Santos, the owner of the Daryl Santos Insurance Agency, where we help families and business owners take care of their insurance needs so they can make more informed decisions, so they can protect things that they have worked very hard to build.
This has been an interview that's been 6 years in the making,
Yeah.
something like that. And the reason is Daryl and I met in Toastmasters. Now, if you've been a long-time Visioneer of Small Business Celebration, you know that Small Business Celebration started as an advanced level Toastmasters project and this has gotten totally out of hand. I never expected any of this to happen. And I was part of Downtown Toastmasters in Bakersfield. And Daryl Santos here, he was one of our club members. And when you ventured out onto your own, I told you, when you hit the 5-year mark, you could be on the show. And here you are. In fact, you called me 2 minutes after your 5th year and said, Michael, when can I get on the show? But before you bought the agency, what were you doing?
Before the agency, I actually was unemployed, believe it or not.
Really?
But before I was unemployed, I was actually a consultant for Farmers Insurance with their district office.
Why Farmers Insurance? Because you could have gone with a variety of others, Mercury, State Farm, etc., etc.
With farmers, what I've learned is that for us as farmers agents, we're allowed to pass on our book of business to a family. We could sell it, we own it. Versus some other organizations, you have to sell the book back to the company, the corporation, so you don't have ownership of it.
So when you build your book of business, it's yours.
Correct.
What's your plan long term?
Again, there's different exit plans.
Right.
One could be, again, if my kids want to take over the business, they got an asset there that's going to help them, that's been built, and they be able to work, a family business with its own challenges. Or again, if I have a team member who's just thriving and wants to take it over and they showed promise, would definitely like to sell it to them if the family doesn't want to take it.
One of the things that this strikes me as intriguing is you're already 6 years in thinking about your exit strategy. How does that help you build and grow and develop your business?
It really helps direct the business, right? Especially if I'm looking to scale and have more employees. Like if I'm doing this one task, is it something that's repeatable with 100 people? Because again, like McDonald's doesn't make the best burgers, but they're able to scale because they have systems and processes in place.
Right.
And that's the goal, is to have things systematized and then have some flexibility, but be able to have that compact to be able to sell as part of the package.
I would be remiss right now because at the time of this recording, we are probably 6-8 months from the Pacific Palisades fire down in Los Angeles. And it's no secret that there's a lot of insurance agencies in California that are leaving, or they're simply not offering new policies, they're not renewing new policies. And it's not just in the LA area, it's up and down the state of California. Are you finding that the insurance companies that you're working with, are they limiting coverage in California? Are they not renewing? Are they just not expanding? What's been your experience with what you're doing with farmers?
Right now, it's very interesting to see just the industry as a whole, being it for over a decade, right? And now as a business owner, insurance agent, seeing companies leaving California, even some big name companies, which a lot of people didn't anticipate,
Right.
has caused a lot of, not necessarily volatility, but I would say probably trust with just insurance companies in general. The internet, social media, a lot of things go viral. People just send out things. What we've been able to see is that Farmers has been able to stick around, and through everything that's been happening with the fires, we're still writing businesses. Yes, there may be some additional underwriting requirements, but we're still here in California.
What are some of those requirements that you're seeing?
What's very common is a water leak detection and shut-off valve device.
For those of us that don't know, what is that?
So very simply put, so when you look at the faucets under your sinks, the toilets, you have those little shut-off valves. Are you aware of how long the life expectancies of those valves may be?
I think it's 7 years.
5 to 7 years.
Right.
So when I moved into my first house in 2017, we didn't change it out, and we were there for another 5 years.
Right.
And didn't change it out. But what the insurance companies have been able to see with big data is, again, if those things are not taken care of, it's just a water loss waiting to happen. So by putting on this device, it detects it, it could shut it off, and it could stop.
Right.
Because of putting it on, the insurance company has been able to see a significant profitable months and less claims. So it's going to help in the long run. It just seems a little bit inconvenient for current business owners or or people who are looking to get new policies with Farmers, because it's not something they're used to doing.
Is there a checklist of things that a business owner can do to their home or their business that will actually help them reduce their premiums that they pay every year?
Yeah, so there's actually discounts that could be applied for both homes and businesses. And when it comes to businesses, you're looking at safety. That's really one of the biggest things, right? Liability. That's the reason why people need business insurance.
Right.
So there could be a list of things that people could find on their own, things that I could provide to them as well to help reduce the risk and present that to the underwriters to help get applied credits.
This sounds like communication is key. How do you help the prospective business owner go through and figure all this out? And because a lot of business owners like me, I've got a million things to do. And I'm sitting there trying to think, when do I have time to go see if I've got these shut-off valves and all this sort of thing? How do you help a business owner in that regard, being able to go through and figure all this out?
Yeah, like you said, communication is key. And it's really, I think, setting clear expectations is what's needed, of what is needed or next steps, holds both myself and the business owner accountable. In the end, I think that's what we want. We want someone to be upfront with us, and if we want those services, there is some responsibility on both ends. Again, providing, as long as I'm like, here's your list, these are the things, let's create a plan together. Right. And then as long as I'm following up, and as the business owner is just being clear with me, hey, Daryl, I can't get it done, we could have a progressive conversation.
Sure.
Right. But if they drop the ball or not communicating with me, or even vice versa, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
One of the challenges that occurs every time there's a major disaster is the business owner finds out too little too late that they're actually underinsured. Because we all get the letter in the mail that we ignore.
Yeah.
It goes right into the recycling. So how do you help that business owner stay up to date without letting them freak out and say, great, my premiums are going to go up another X amount of dollars because now the rates are going up, but if I don't do it, I'm actually underinsured.
Yeah, and that's where I think a lot of business owners do a disservice to themselves by not actually taking up their agent on a policy review.
How often do you do those reviews?
I would recommend at least a minimum of once a year. So as a couple months before you renew, you get the information. If you have questions, as a business owner, it would be great to see them take a chance to review it. Again, I know they're super busy, but again, your agent, I would say have them follow up with you and review it and take the time, because if you're underinsured, again, insurance is not there for when it messes up your day, but it's there for when it messes up your life.
And after you've had your conversations with Daryl Dean Santos and you discover, oh, I can afford a bigger house because of the savings he has offered you, might I suggest you reach out to Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty, born and raised and never left Bakersfield. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear here on Small Business Celebration, just like Mike, who asked. We're encountering the same individuals at every networking event we attend. How do you go about meeting fresh prospects in person?
I always think it's interesting because, like, right, Bakersfield's a small, big town.
Right.
People would say.
There's only 400,000 people who live here, 600,000, but everybody knows everybody.
Right, but and I think that's the not necessarily the issue, but where we find ourselves is going back to where we're comfortable. So I think if people find different networks, different communities, different activities of things that you may be genuinely interested, where you may not know people. Is a great opportunity to meet new people.
And how have you done that?
One is actually even creating my own community.
Okay.
Back 2 years ago, started a business. It was called Small Business Community Dinner.
Okay.
And this was to bring small business owners together who I knew on an individual level,
right,
and wanted to bring people together because I'm like, this is a cool person, this is a cool person, let's bring these cool people together.
Right.
And it was to help support and bring them all to have the community to help level out the feeling of the struggle being a business owner, being able to help provide business insurance. The focus is on the relationships. And from them, I don't know a lot of these people on a deeper level, but now I've actually been able to help provide them value. So now they have other people to ask advice for or even to do business with. And then allows me to get an opportunity to potentially serve them and their network.
Why did you start your own networking group?
Started my own networking group because I felt like it was something that I was personally missing, and I wanted with people that I enjoy company with, that I knew personally. And it was an opportunity to help deepen those relationships.
How hard was it for you to put this group together?
It was scary.
Okay.
It was scary because, right, as human beings, if we're asking someone out or we're asking for support,
right,
the worst thing that we could feel from someone we have somewhat of a liking to is rejection. And that was I think that was my biggest fear, was rejection of, even though I like these people and I know they like me, but are they going to show up? Some of these people are not from the downtown area. They're like, oh, I don't know where to park. People have this perspective downtown is bad. I'm like, my office should be downtown. It just isn't yet.
Sure.
But yes, it's just like, I'm facing with all these internal battles of like, oh, they don't want to be here because of X.
Right.
Or will they come? Like, it's just me. So I don't know if it'd be an imposter syndrome.
Right.
Like, am I worthy to have these people come and support me, type of thing. Oh, in the end, I was able to bring it all together. It worked out and had over 30 people in attendance, about 25 businesses there represented. And still talk to, if not all of them.
What kind of insurance does an insurance agent get for his own home, life, business, etc.?
For my home, I get a homeowner's insurance. I have my auto insurance here with the company as well, and an umbrella policy. In my business, I have my business policy, which is a comprehensive policy that not includes general liability and employer practice liability insurance, but I also have workers' comp. So again, having employees, you need to have workers' comp here in the state of California.
Do you get the company discount?
Yes.
How often are claims actually filed?
You'd be surprised. They're actually filed pretty daily, if not every other day.
Really?
But they're probably not for what you think it may be.
Really?
So most of it has been towing, roadside assistance. You'll have your occasional glass claim, but then recently we had some car thefts, or even partial thefts, like catalytic converters.
Again? They're back?
It's still happening.
Oh.
Still making their money.
Some personality types look at insurance as pure drudgery. How do you make it fun?
Insurance is, most people don't wake up, or go to bed looking at their insurance policy and saying, man, I'm so happy I have this auto policy.
Only if you're trying to fall asleep. You got insomnia.
Right? But I enjoy insurance and make it fun, or it's fun for me because it's allowed me opportunities to meet different people, different walks of life, and also allowed me the time to really create new relationships that I probably would not have been able to have or experience at a regular 9-to-5 job. Yeah, going through, learning about people's stories and just relating and providing solutions where possible has really made me feel like I've been able to live out as a servant to helping out clients or even prospects. So that's where I find the enjoyment in the insurance world.
And that brings us to the Visioneer Game. Now, Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone. I have no idea what the word that the generator is going to create is, but more importantly, neither does our guest. And our guest has to take each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate each word with his business. Now, Daryl, you do realize that the fate of the entire insurance industry is going to be based upon your ability to get these 3 words correct. Are you ready?
I'm ready, Michael.
All right. Your first word is clock.
So if an agent is not on the clock to be able to pay attention to what is going on in the business owner's policy and getting things timed correctly, such as a renewal for the policy review, a ball could be dropped and that would be on me. So I take it very seriously to make sure I'm on the clock to take care of our clients and make sure they have the policies and protections that's important to them.
Congratulations, that's 1 for 1. Okay, your second word is stock.
Taking stock into a lot of the players who are making the decisions in these policies. Sometimes there's our partners, so we have to take stock of their ideas, their perspective on what's important to them in terms of levels of protection and their budget. If I don't do any of them, nothing's going to be created that is custom to them. I don't want to provide a cookie cutter approach to their level of protection. I want to find out what their needs are, and the only way by doing that is taking stock of their ideas and perspectives.
2 for 2. We're on a roll. Now you do realize it all comes down to this. You get this word wrong, all is lost. Are you ready?
Let's make it happen.
Day.
Every day is an opportunity at this agency to serve our clients and anyone that comes to us as a referral. And I think, or I believe, if we do not, take advantage of the day and execute with intention, the day is lost, people don't get served, and I think it's a loss of opportunity. So I think it's really important that we live with today, or the day, with intention in order to make the impact that we want to make.
Daryl, the world of insurance is safe at last. Congratulations, 3 for 3. Well done, you. It wasn't that hard.
No, kind of reminds me of back in Toastmasters.
Exactly. But you were talking about living with intention.
Yes.
Part of that is finding the right employee. You want to intentionally find the right person for the job. But you learned this the hard way that you kind of got to do your homework and follow through.
I think one of the toughest parts in building a business and scaling, right, is building a team. I share with a lot of businesses, I'm like, I think business is pretty easy, but I think it's the people is the most challenging piece, right? Different personalities, different attitudes. We had an employee where there's some challenges that I discovered after the fact she came on board.
Oh no.
Yeah, so you can anticipate it already. And where I could have improved in my process was to actually stick to my process.
Oh no. So you have a checkoff list of things you're supposed to ask?
Yeah.
And you didn't follow everything?
Correct.
Oh boy. What happened?
Again, I have a process that I follow during interviewing, right? And through that, it shows writing, via, can you send me an email? So that lets me to see the grammar, their spelling, and also, the functionality of using the computer. How attuned are they in using or comfortable in using the computer? Because I didn't follow those processes, I discovered later on after I hired the person and it started to show they weren't as efficient as I thought they would have been. And me being trying to be this particular business owner I defined in my head, I was like, I want to be understanding, I have hopes, wanted to encourage them. I continued keeping on the team member. Unfortunately, as times progress, it wasn't progressing sooner as I would hope for it to be.
What did this cost you, and how did you learn from this?
About 6 to 8 months of payroll.
Wow.
Yeah, for an individual, and time I can't get back in regards to building up my business like I'm planning
So
to.
you actually effectively lost business because you didn't follow through on the process of hiring in the first place.
Losing the opportunities and trusting, from referrals that I had received from people I built relationships with, and passing that on, and either being slow or not detail oriented has cost me some opportunities.
Personal development is very important for you and your business and the development and growth of your employees. How much do you invest on a weekly basis in your employees' growth and development, and what's the long-term goal that you're trying to reach with this?
I've actually shared this with another peer of mine who's another agent. He's like, Daryl, you're doing a lot more than I'm doing. And he's been an agent for 10 plus years.
Right.
So to answer your question, it's a minimum an hour a week, but it could easily be up to about 5 hours a week. So a lot of it is either through one-to-one conversations, through group meetings, and we're role-playing, to a third party providing some training online, and they have access to a lot of other things that I purchase for them to allocate some of their own time here at the office to work on any of objection handling or any skills that they need help with.
How do you encourage the employee who doesn't necessarily think that it's important for personal development, or thinks that they're too busy, or don't have enough time, or a whole variety of other litany of excuses that come along, that no, this is important, that yeah, you do need to read at least a certain amount a day just for your own personal growth? How do you encourage that?
I guess I really bring it just from my own personal experience of how it has changed my life,
Right.
but also bringing in my other team member Kenny, who's been able to see changes in her own life, and for her essentially be a testimonial to how the core value of development in our agency has positively affected not only us here in the business, but even also at home. The things that we, outside of the objection handling and everything, a lot of it's communication is what I focus on. And if we could be better communicators, not only just here with clients, but more at home too, the household's going to be good. They're going to have a better relationship with their spouse or their kids. But then in the end, if they're happy at home, they're going to be happy here at work too. So again, it's very cyclical in the development aspect of our business.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1 at icloud.com today. And this question comes from Miriam, who asks, we are surprised to discover that a growing number of our clients communicate in a language different from ours. How are you adjusting to this linguistic change, and how are you placing your trust in your team during this transition?
It's an interesting question, to say the least, because here I am, about to hit 6 years in business, and 80 to 90% of the clients in this agency either only speak Spanish,
Right.
or Spanish speaking preferred.
And you don't speak Spanish?
No hablo español. Yeah, I don't speak Spanish. I still even amaze myself. And then even doing this during COVID, right? I'm like, how in the world am I still here? Right? And to the second part of your question is that because our core values is trust, service, and development, I've really had to lean on my team. I really had to create that culture. We read certain books in terms of trust, how we provide service, how we are better communicators. With us having that internal value in our company has allowed me to trust my team regardless if they're like 5 feet away from me, I have no idea what they're saying, Michael. I honestly have no idea what they're saying. I could probably pick up a few words, but I don't have the fluency to understand everything they're saying. But it's because of that mutual trust, and they understand that is the only way I think this business has been able to keep going.
So when you hear your employees say taco, tostada, enchilada, they're talking lunch.
Yeah. They could be talking lunch, or they could be, again, building rapport with our client in regards to, what are some of the entrees that they're doing for the holidays.
How do you go through and monitor what your employees are doing, because everything's in a separate language, without overbearing and without, getting them to feel like you're just breathing down their neck the whole time?
No one wants to feel like someone's on their back or looking over their shoulder 24/7. So I try to be creative in my own way of, they're in sales, how are they making their dials, like things where I can look from a distance. The other parts of it is just having one-to-one conversations or impromptu conversations. Hey, how did that go? If you didn't close a sale, what were some of those objections? I really, again, within our company culture is for people to come to me to take the initiative to develop. Right? Development's one of our core values. So for them to feel open enough to come to me, and I was like, hey, Daryl, this is what happened. How could I have done this differently? That's how a lot of the development has happened here in our agency, is just candid conversations and being open to feedback and having the positive mindset through it all.
It's no secret that there's a lot of business owners that are struggling right now. What do you say to encourage business owners that the sun will rise again and every day springs anew?
Yeah, it's tough. Again, I even had my own days of like, why am I here?
Right.
Sometimes, right? And even like, why am I in a business where I do not speak the language and I'm still fighting to keep it going? And what it came down to is, I know myself, I always wanted to be a business owner. I didn't know in what capacity. I just knew I wanted to be the person that was making the big decisions.
Right.
Here I am. Because what I've understand over time of what this business has been able to provide myself and my community, that's why I keep showing up, because it allows me to show up for other people. Not only for my team, but for my community. And one thing that I really cherish most about being an agent is the impact I could have with the people that work with me. So like, as an example, like, as development is a very big piece to our core value. My team member, who's no longer with us, he moved to another state. He ended up reading a book, and his relationships and his family gotten better. And they eventually started reading too, because I saw him reading. And the conversation around the kitchen dining table got better. And he eventually got into a slump. And his dad was reading a book. He recommended him. And his dad was like, hey, well, why don't you do this? Remember this book? And he was like, oh yeah. And it's crazy how that just went cyclical, it just happened, that connection. But I would never have been able to know about that or see that level of impact unless he shared that with me. But to know that happened, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Or even another team member who has a son in their teens, again, through our development here in the agency, has their teen now asking her questions more and having more candid conversations, and conversations they don't want to have. But that, to me, that's why I show up. And I think if a business owner could see what their business is allowing them to do and what type of impact it's allowing them to make in the community or in their business, that could help them, continue pushing, because I know it's difficult out there.
Daryl, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's only taken 6 years.
Yeah, just 6.
And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, they could give us a call at 661-326-7200, or they could come to our office at 4646 Wilson Road, Suite 205, Bakersfield, California, 93309, or they could follow me on Instagram. It's Daryl, my insurance guy. Simple enough, and I'm on all the other social medias, LinkedIn, YouTube.
And after a quick message from Cloud Exits, we're going to be talking about why it's important to support another person's success.
Thank you, Michael. I pride myself in working with other professionals that are passionate and trustworthy. Exiting your business is often a team sport. If you need a great M&A advisor, business broker, CPA, business law attorney, SBA lender, I'm connected with all of the above. Please visit my website at plannedexits.com.
Why it's important to support another person's success. Visioneer David Collins is a fixture in the small business community here in Kern County. And he works for a business called Commercial Trade, which is a debt collection agency. And you will never see them advertise on billboards, TV, radio, banner ads. You won't see them supporting some little league team that nobody's ever heard of. But if there is a business mixer or a business event in town, you can lay odds that 99% of the time, Dave Collins is going to be there. And unlike the shadowy film war movies of the 40s, he's not that shadowy character that nobody wants to see. In fact, people can't wait to see Dave Collins. Why? Well, he pays attention to just about everybody. And including on all of their social medias, and like in our case, all of our episodes. And when he goes to an event or a mixer, he'll go through and he will talk to just about everybody. In fact, it takes him practically the entire event for him to talk to everybody. Why? Because he's inviting them to tell him what they're doing right, what their latest success story is. And of course, they have no problem telling him, and he returns the favor again by supporting them, encouraging them, letting them know that they are important and they are successful. And in the end, when the day comes, when they need a debt to be collected, guess who it is they call? The person who's been criticizing them, or the person who's been supporting their success? I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week. We'll celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.
The most important coverage that your everyday Joe should have, again, if they own a home, definitely have homeowners insurance, especially if it's paid off. To have their auto insurance coverages, and please have more than state minimum. The difference is $60 sometimes for the 6 months. They can get a life insurance policy, because this is going to help them protect them when the unfortunate or the unforeseen passing of a loved one happens. The most important insurance to have is going to be a comprehensive policy for a business owner. Things that you'll be looking for is a general liability, business income coverage, as well as employer practice liability coverage. General liability, slip and fall, very common, but business income, let's say there's a fire where you cannot operate, this will help be able to replace that income, and you'll be able to then maintain your business of operations. And if you were to be sued for any allegations of discrimination, sexual harassment, that's where employer practice liability comes into place. The most expensive claim I paid out was around $300,000 to about $400,000. It was a life insurance policy. Those are the worst experiences, but also one of the great experiences all at the same time. You lose a life, so knowing the benefits of it. So it was a somber and good moment to be able to help be there for the family, but it's unfortunate for them losing a loved one. The number one piece of insurance that most people don't buy is uninsured motorists. I've seen and interviewed people who used to work at some of these brokerages, and a lot of what they did was this, hey, here's your policy, and they go out and get the registration, and they never pay for their insurance again. So they're driving out without insurance, and if they hit you and you don't have uninsured motorist coverage, you're going to be left with a bill to replace everything. Can I use my life insurance when I'm alive? Because most people, when they get a life insurance policy, they think it's only for when they die. There's actually two different types of life insurance policies, and there's a term and there's a permanent. But essentially, there's some that'll have benefits where you can use while you are alive. Say just talk to your agent regarding those different benefits. The common misconception about being the boss like I wanted to was that I was going to have all the time in the world. I get to create my own schedule and not have to work long days, and here I am working easy 12-hour days at times, but also I could have a very short day. It's just not probably what I would prefer of when I would have my own time, but again, it's just, based on business needs. The different types of insurances that we sell, we have your homeowners, your secondary home, your vacation home, short-term or mid-term rentals, you have your landlord properties, condo policies, and then you have your condos midterms, your short-terms there as well. You have your vacant policies, builder's risk, course of construction, then you have your general liabilities, you have your comprehensive business owner policies, your workers' comp, employer practice liability insurance coverage just on its own, you have your umbrella policies, umbrella for your home, umbrella for your business, cargo for people who are pulling things, you have trailer coverage, you have your boats, RVs, mobile homes, renters, your life insurance, permanent, you have your term, and then you have your whole life, universal life, index, variable life, those are permanents, you have your term, simple term, whole life there as well. We do annuities, commercial buildings, lesser's risk, commercial auto. Yes, there's so many types of insurance.